What no one tells professional women about starting soul led businesses. If you're a high functioning, intelligent, capable woman who's done everything right, she's got the career, and lately you've been feeling this restlessness that you can't ignore, that there's just something more to do, then this video is for you. Hi, everyone. I'm Kristen, a business coach and astrologer, and I talk purpose and soul led business ownership. In the description box below, you'll find how to acquire your custom, data backed, spiritually guided report revealing your ideal business direction, your aligned clientele, and natural way of connecting and selling. So, when a professional woman decides that she wants to start a business that comes from soul, many times it's somehow believed that she's ungrateful for her career, that she should be lucky to be where she is. But what it really is that the version of you that learned to succeed in that 9 to 5 is no longer the version of you that exists today. What no one tells you is that the soul path is more than about freedom or flexibility or income. You also lose that 9 to 5 identity that once kept you safe, and learning how to trust yourself without that given title, a given structure like following governance and policies and procedures, or being given a permission slip to make that next move. Today, I want to share the real gains and the real losses that I and many others have personally experienced of leaving that 9 to 5 to build a business led by soul and not by survival. And this is not about forcing or convincing you to start a business, because if you're here, you're probably already thinking about it. And so this is really just to tell you the truth so you can decide from a clear mindset and not fantasy. So let's talk about the soul parts that does not get talked about enough on LinkedIn. The first positive gain: sovereignty over your time, energy, and body. I worked full time for about 15 years, and my nervous system was scheduled around the schedule of the industry of that particular employer. I worked for 5 years. Five of those 15 years, I worked in legal, and my nervous system was fixed around the county court docket. And then for 10 years, I worked in higher education, and my nervous system was fixed around the academic and the fiscal year. So it took me about a good 3 months after getting laid off for my body and my mind to begin to realize that my email was locked. So there was no work emails to click, no deadlines to meet, and no time clock or system to manage my time or my PTO. So I was no longer asking permission to rest, to slow down, to rise out of bed at a certain time for any particular employer. So this is a time where you can learn to work with your feminine cycle, your nervous system, and your intuition when you are running a soul-led business. I had to pivot into my existing business, which was a soul-led business. So I was running both at the same time. I was working full-time and I had my business on the side. And when I was laid off, I had to quickly pivot into my existing business. So although I had it for a few years, it was still a shift out of that 9 to 5 schedule that took me a little bit to adjust to. And so maybe your schedule is a monthly cycle versus a daily cycle. So you choose when to speak, when to create, when to sell, and when to disappear. It's not that you have to show up Monday through Friday necessarily. You create your own schedule. And you start to see that Saturdays and Sundays are kind of no different than Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Of course, unless you have children or a spouse that's got a particular school or work schedule. So this is a reclamation of your mornings, your pace, your inner rhythm, where your life is perhaps blended together and intertwined instead of being boxed separately. And so it's like letting yourself be borrowed, letting someone else kind of borrow you for a certain amount of time, your employer, and then now you get yourself back. That is not as easy of a uh, physical nervous system shift as you would think. The first positive loss, the death of external validation. Many people just won't understand you. People have put you in a box and they see you as one way because honestly, that's how you had been showing up because that's who you were for so long and you were really good at it. So pivoting in a soul-led direction and not one that is coming from an external structure may be hard to explain, or is at least less tangible than your career. And that means you lose that applause, the opportunities for promotions, and those good girl gold stars because you have this external structure that you know how to climb up, you know what they're expecting. It's like this reward system. So you don't necessarily have that same reward system as a business owner in general, and as soul led. It just doesn't show up the same way. So you'll witness people not understand what you do, and they'll actually kind of actively try to not understand. But remember that this is a positive loss. So you're no longer outsourcing your self worth or outsourcing what winning or success is. And lastly, there is a little bit of grief of not being mirrored by the old world anymore. You were at one point the point of contact. You kept things moving. You were trusted and depended upon in that way in the role that you were in. So it's definitely an identity reframing. And so what you lose in validation, you actually gain in self-trust. The second positive gain, identity alchemy. You become more you. This is where you really start to glow differently. Founding a soul led business requires meeting parts of yourself that never had room to exist before, becoming braver in your voice, clearer in your desires, because you don't have to worry about saying something that would affect the reputation of your employer, no longer shrinking your dreams to fit rooms that can't hold them because you are living your dream. And you are forming your own natural version of executive presence, and you're feeling your intuition sharpen as a business tool. You are your own creative director, and the only limits are your intuition and your imagination, which are limitless. So, no more finding yourself because you're now claiming yourself. You're finally claiming who you really are. You're not putting your soul on a back burner for career advancement. You are advancing with your soul in the forefront. The second positive loss, relationships that can't cross the threshold. This is the initiation that most women don't expect, and something else that I've personally felt and experienced. So you tend to think that the people who claim that they love you and support you would continue that as you take this big pivot. For me, most did, and I'm thankful for that, so grateful for that. But there were a few who created narratives of their own about what I was deciding for myself and were getting triggered by it, figuring that I must be confused or in some way, and they did not congratulate me on this next shift. And so, as you found a business created from your soul, your relationships to those who are not connected to their soul will need to be recategorized. There's just really no way. When you are someone who is connected to their soul and you are talking to someone else who's also connected to their own soul, you get it. You're not going to be serving the same purpose in the same way, but you understand the steps that you have to take. You understand the pushbacks that you get, the confused looks, and so you can recognize that in each other. Anyone that is used to putting themselves on the back burner and is trying to get that gold star by by putting themselves and their soul on the back burner, they're not going to understand you. Or if they do, it may cause some friction because it's like how did you become so brave enough to make this big bold leap? I'm still here having to make things work by putting myself on the back burner. I don't have that type of luxury. How dare you have that type of luxury? And it may not even sound like that whenever they do actually communicate that to you, It will come out in some other way, like you needing to stop and put yourself back on the same track that you were on before, but you know that that's not right for you, and you just honor where they are right now. It's not about convincing them or trying to explain it to them unless they are deeply asking questions. But for me, those who were kind of creating their own narratives, they weren't asking me any clarifying questions at all. But if they had questions about it, then certainly I wouldn't mind explaining what got me from point A to point B, and why I'm here right now and doing the things that I'm doing. I didn't mind answering those questions, but they never came, and I did not force them to try to understand. Everyone is on their own journey, and you just continue to do you. So, this includes friendships that quietly fade when you stop being relatable. This also includes family members who love you but they don't see you anymore, and romantic dynamics that crack under your expansion. And even some loneliness that of becoming someone new before your community actually catches up to where you are. So the biggest thing that I've noticed that a soul business has no room, it has no room for suffering or griping. Starting a soul-led business or being led from soul in general, even if you don't start a business, it's got no room for suffering and griping because you want to make everything you want to be part of the healing process. And so you're solving problems that your soul came here to fix. And many people bond over that griping and complaining when it comes to their professions and then just life in general. So when you're the odd one out who's fulfilled or who is working towards fulfillment, that can produce negative emotions in others. And so you don't outgrow people, you outgrow the versions of yourself that was shared with them, that you shared with them. And they truly aren't able to see you that deeply. It's almost like a betrayal, like you betrayed them by shifting. But just keep going because more than likely they're going to need your services in the long run. The third positive gain, money with meaning, not hustle, not harm. Many times we're told to abandon our passions in order to get paid, when in reality, earning income in alignment with with your values, your virtues, with pleasure and purpose is the ultimate form of getting paid. You don't have to abandon yourself or turn into a pretzel for a paycheck. Let money meet you through resonance instead of force. And so release the belief that success must feel hard or draining because you know what hard and draining feels like. You know what that is, and you may not resonate with that being success at all. Money has good spiritual energy when exchanged for spiritual services, and you can use that money in a circulatory system for more impact, more beauty, more devotion. So you just keep recycling that beauty, that energy over and over again. And for me personally, nothing feels better than money earned from a spiritual exchange because I put my heart and my soul into each client request. And I want that for you too. The third positive loss, the illusion of safety. If anything, this is the shadow initiation into your soul journey. When you're fueled by soul, you run on the intangible, on faith and determination. Pure communication from the spirit realm, you're building your path as you go. You may even have a mentor to guide you through this process, but the work is all your own. The spirit realm will test you to see how much you trust it, how much you trust yourself. And a lot of that looks like letting go of guaranteed paychecks and predictable, predetermined paths, facing the discomfort of self responsibility, learning to self regulate fear, doubt, and visibility in ways that you've never experienced, realizing that there's no authority coming to save you. It's also the most empowering because you know it's all on you because it is you. All of this is you being manifested into a business helping people solve problems. And so safety moves from external structures and into your body. The fourth positive gain, deep self intimacy and emotional mastery. They do not teach you this in business school, I will tell you that. In business school, you're still taught to be an employee, and the expectation is that you are a leader within a defined organization, and that you're hired to enforce these policies and advance their initiatives. And you must speak and lead in a way that represents and supports them to their designated stakeholders. Well, as a soul led business owner, you're representing your work from top to bottom. You're learning how to respond to pressure, failure, success, and desire in a completely different way. Building emotional capacity instead of bypassing discomfort is really key because you're the face of your business and you get critiqued directly. This also includes becoming your own anchor during launches and lulls and peaks within different seasons of your business. And so, developing nervous system leadership and not just mindset, everything is so important because everything you do is full body at this point, it's full spirit. And this is the gain that no one can ever take from you. The fourth positive loss, the paradox. You lose certainty, you gain power. Certainty is a really interesting word. We want it, but in business ownership, we're not always going to get it, and we need to know how to navigate regardless. And when I founded my business almost 3 years ago, I was only certain about one thing, that I love doing astrology readings, and that's what I did, and that's what I still do. But over time, I developed into a coach with multiple coaching certifications, including spirituality, identity, and business. And I finally learned how to pair my love for the spiritual sciences with my business analytics background and education and create something meaningful for people. So that's why I love the phrase that you have to start from somewhere. Again, you're building as you're going along. And that's what power is, being able to master leadership without certainty. And this could look a lot like never feeling done or that you fully arrived at your goal. This can really handicap people, especially those who need curriculums and hard plans to follow, feeling that the path keeps asking more of you, deeper truth, deeper honesty. Even if you thought that you already went really deep last month, it will want even more from you now. And you look back and you wonder if you made the right decision in going into such a deep unknown. But then you see the woman you have become can never go back, and you don't even really want to. So you stop asking yourself and possibly stop asking others, is this safe? Is this really what I should be doing? And you start instead asking, is this true for me? You're asking questions internally. So you lose certainty, but you gain depth and power. So as we close, I just want to talk about who this path is really for. And I know that that was a lot, but it was a much needed conversation, a much needed discussion. And with soul led entrepreneurship, you're swapping out typical ambition for true devotion. And you will gain so much, and you will lose things that you never thought that you had to grieve. Soul led business is not for everyone, and that is okay, and that is to be expected. It is a bit scary, definitely, but you know that your soul won't let you sleep until you take that deep dive and you have a divine calling to serve is going to continue nudging you. There was even a time in my spiritual journey that I really thought that I felt a physical finger on my shoulder jabbing me, waking me up. And I was like, at that time, I was living alone. That was before I met my husband. And I remember feeling like these jabs on my shoulder, like, get up. You've got a purpose to uh to to live out. You are much needed right now. You need to get started. So along the journey, you must honor both the grief and the glory of the path. And as for me, my business did not just change my life, it changed who I let myself be. And as mentioned earlier in the video. In the description box, you will find how to acquire your custom business report called the Goddess of Commerce Codex, where you will uncover the kind of soul leader that you are becoming, how you're meant to communicate and be felt, the presence that your work is asking you to hold, the aligned clients that you are here to serve, and the business direction that actually supports your spiritual and soul led expansion, not what drains it. And if you're standing at the edge of a pivot, of a beginning, or of a deeper embodiment along your journey, this is where devotional gets practical. And if you move through the codex, you feel the desire for more support, or even if you're ready for more support now, for someone to walk with it through you, walk you through it, through this journey, this identity shift, not just the logistics of everything. I do offer private one-on-one coaching for women who are ready to lead from truth, not performance. All of the ways that you can step into this is linked in the description box below, how to contact me and everything. And so thank you so much for watching. Please let me know what you think in the comments. I hope that you found this video insightful, and I will see you in the next one.